Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Balaji and I'm thrilled to guide you through some of the advanced inbuilt functions of Zoho Sheet.
Hi everyone, I'm Rohit and I'm excited to co-host this session with Balaji. We'll be diving deep into how you can elevate your data management skills with Zoho Sheet.
Today, we're going to explore some of the powerful inbuilt functions in Zoho Sheet that can take your calculations and analysis from basic numbers to deep insights. This is the first part of a two-part webinar series, and in today's session, we'll focus on essential functions that are crucial for your day-to-day business tasks. And in our next session, we'll take it a step further and cover the more advanced functions in Zoho Sheet that has to offer based on your feedbacks. If you have missed any of our previous webinars, don't worry, you can always catch the recordings in our webinar page. Also, just a reminder, we host Zoho Sheet webinars on the third Thursday of every month. Make sure to mark your calendars for more tips and tricks.
Discover Zoho Sheet, where collaboration meets innovation in a synergistic, smart, and a simple interface. Zoho Sheet also transforms the way teams work together, seamlessly connecting data and fostering a truly interactive environment. Designed for intuitive navigation, it also empowers users to create and manage complex sheets with ease.
So its compatibility with Excel ensures a smooth transition for all your data needs, making Zoho Sheet the ultimate tool for dynamic and creative workplaces. Embrace the future of collaboration with Zoho Sheet, where every idea comes to life effortlessly. Rohit, could you walk us through today's agenda?
Sure, Balaji. Today's agenda is focused on a real-world use case for several key industries that rely on Zoho Sheet for their daily data management tasks. We will dive into how different business sectors are utilizing Zoho Sheet to enhance their operations. So we have a finance team, how to use Zoho Sheet to really work with numbers. Then we have marketing and sales teams to track past campaigns and predict future sales. Then we have the HR team to manage their employee records, calculate the leave days, and evaluate the performance appraisals. And next, we have the data analyst team who are evaluating sales performance, customer behavior, and market trend. And last, we'll end with inventory management team to track stock levels, forecast record needs, and analyze sales performance. We will provide practical examples for each topic and discuss how you can effectively apply these functions to your day-to-day workflow. By end of this session, you will have a deeper understanding of how to use Zoho Sheet's powerful function to streamline process and make data-driven decisions.
All right, Rohit, let's kick things off with how a finance team can use Zoho Sheet to really work with numbers. Let's imagine a scenario. A finance team is evaluating whether to purchase new equipment for their company. They need to calculate loan payments, assess investment returns, and use conditional summing and lookup functions to analyze past expenses and future cash flows. Could you maybe walk us through with which functions in Zoho Sheet would be most useful for the finance team in this case?
Of course, Balaji. Let's break it down function by function. To start with, we have the PMT function, which is super helpful for calculating loan payments. Let's say if the finance team needs to figure out the monthly payments for the financing the equipments, PMT can give them the exact number based on the loan amount, interest, and payment period. And next we have the net present value function. It's a great tool to access whether the investments in new equipment is worth it or not. And next we have the internal rate of return function. So this helps the team to evaluate the return on their investments. So it gives them the percentage rate they can expect from the equipment process. And next we have the future value function. It is handy if the company is considering setting aside money for future projects or any investment plans they have. It also tells them how much their savings or investments will grow over the time based on regular deposits and the interest rate. And next we have the sum and sum ifs function. So these are conditional summing functions that allows the finance team to add up expenses based on certain criteria. For example, if they want to separate the operational cost from the maintenance expense, these functions will quickly give them the total for each category. And now we have the popular function VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. So the finance team needs to match invoices with payments or check with which vendor they have been paid. These functions will pull out the right data from different sheets or databases, saving them a ton of manual efforts. So Balaji, Now that we have covered the key functions, can you show us a working example from this?
Absolutely, Rohit. Let's take a closer look at how we can use the PMT function to calculate a loan payment. So, the PMT function helps you figure out the payment per period for a loan with a constant interest rate and constant payments. Here's the syntax that we will use. You can see it right on your screen. Let me explain the terms that we have used there. So, rate is the interest rate per period, and N per is the total number of payment periods. So, if the loan is for 3 years, it would be 3. PV is the current value of the loan, also called the principal. For example, let's say it's 10,000, and FB is the cash balance you want to maintain at the end of the term, which refers to 0 if it is not specified. And the type determines when the payments are made, and if it's 0, the payment is at the end of each period, and if it's 1, it's made at the beginning. If you don't mention it, the default is 0. Here is something that you'll have to keep in mind. To get the total payment over the entire loan term, you'd have to multiply the result by the number of periods, which would be N per. Let me show you a quick example. In this spreadsheet, we already have the interest rate, the number of periods, the principal amount, and whether we are paying at the beginning or at the end of the period. So to calculate the payment, you'll have to click on the cell where you want the result, and you'll have to type in the formula with the syntax, select the interest rate, divide by 12 to get the monthly rate, then the period, the principal, and the final time. And after hitting enter, voila, you got your monthly payment. It's that simple to make use of the PMT function. Let's move on to another example. This time, we'll assess the IRR function. It is a function that is used to calculate the internal rate of return for a series of periodic cash flows that happen at regular intervals. The syntax is simple, so it's just IRR and followed by the syntax, which is the payments and guess. Payments is the range containing the payments made or received over regular intervals, and guess is the value you think might be closer to the IRR. If you don't provide one, it defaults to 0.1 or 10%. You could input something like 20% or 0.2 if you want to start with a guess. And a quick note, if your cash flows don't occur at regular intervals, you can use the XIRR function instead. Here's a quick example of the IRR function. In this spreadsheet, we have a list of years and the corresponding cash flows for each year. To calculate the internal rate of return for the first 2 years, we'll have to click on the cell where we want the IRR result, type in IRR, and select the range of payments, and just like that, we have our IRR. You can continue by selecting the appropriate range for other years and see how the rate of return changes over the time. What do you think, Rohit? Looks easy, correct?
Absolutely, Balaji. This is a great example of how easy it is to handle financial calculations in Spreadsheet. It really simplifies the process for a finance team looking to manage their loan payments efficiently. So now that we have covered some finance functions, let's shift our focus to the marketing and the sales team. These teams often need to track past campaigns, predict future sales. They are busy analyzing customer data, forecasting sales trend, combining campaign results from comprehensive reports, and creating a dynamic visual report. So Balaji, could you walk us through which function in Spreadsheet would be very helpful for the marketing team in this scenario?
Of course, Rohit. For the marketing team, there are several powerful functions in Zoho Sheet that can make their job a lot easier. Let's start with the forecast function. It helps predict future sales based on historical data. By looking at the past sales figures, you can estimate future performance and make informed decisions. Next up, we have the trend function. It is used to analyze the performance trends of your marketing campaigns over the time. It's great for spotting patterns and understanding how different campaigns are performing. And next, we have the concatenate function. When it comes to reports, this function is invaluable. It combines data from different fields into a single cell, making your reports more cohesive and easier to understand. And next up, we have the pivot table and the sparkline functions. Pivot table is a fantastic tool for analyzing customer segmentation and campaign performance. You can quickly summarize and analyze data, helping you make sense of complex information. And the sparkline function helps you visualize sales performance trends within individual cells. It provides a mini chart within a cell to give you a quick visual of trends without taking up too much space. And by the way, we have already covered pivot tables and sparklines in depth in one of our previous webinars. And finally, we have the if error function. It is simply great for handling errors in your data. If you're dealing with incomplete or inconsistent data, this function helps manage errors gracefully. ensuring your reports are as accurate as possible. Does that cover what you had in mind, Rohit?
Yes, Balaji, that's exactly what I needed. Now, let's see an example using some of the functions that you just explained. We'll start with the forecast function. So this predicts the expected y value for a given x value based on the linear regression of your data. So here is the syntax. So the function forecast, then you'll be providing the target value, that is new x value. Then we have the y values and the x values. So here, both the y value and the x value need to be of the same size. For example, if you have like 5 set of rows in x value, the y value should also be the 5 set of rows. Now take a look at an example of how this function works. So in this sheet, I have a table that has a range of y values and a range of x values. So as you see here, both the ranges are in equal size. Now my target variable is new x value. I'm going to simply use the function with the target variable 17 to forecast the future linear regression. So I'm selecting the new value, then I'm selecting the range of y values and x values. As you see here, this function predicts the expected y value for the new x value. Now let's move on to the next function, that is trend, which predicts the future values based on ideal straight line through your data. So here, how to use the trend function syntax. So here we have the y value, then the x value, then the target value, that is new x value, and we have a new syntax here, type. The difference is, if the type is false, this intercept is set to 0, and if it's true or omitted, the intercept is calculated. Now let's check out the GIF that shows how to use this trend function in action. So in this sheet, I have a data that has a year revenue from 2010 to 2019. Now I'm going to use the trend function to predict the future revenue for 2020 to 2023. So in the target cell, I'll enter the function name trend, and I'll select the range of data, that is the revenue and the corresponding year. So as soon as I feed the data to the trend function, you can see it's going to predict the future revenue for the year 20, 21, 22, and 23. It's that simple.
Thanks for the explanations, Rohit. These functions, that is the forecast and trend functions, are incredibly useful for predicting sales and analyzing trends. Your walkthrough made it easier to understand how to apply them effectively. Now that we have covered these functions, let's shift our focus to our next topic, human resources. HR managers need to manage employee records, calculate leave days, evaluate performance appraisals, and handle payroll. This includes calculating working days, employee tenure, retrieving details from a database, and performing conditional evaluations for salary bonuses and appraisals. Rohit, could you walk us through which functions in Zoho Sheet would be most useful for the HR team in these scenarios?
Sure, Balaji. To effectively manage HR tasks, Zoho Sheet offers several useful functions. So we have the workday and the net workday function. So this calculates the end date after a specified number of working days, useful for determining when an employee leaves will end. And you use the net workday. This will calculate the days without excluding the weekends and the holidays. And next we have the VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. So this function has already covered during the finance team scenario. And these same functions can also be applied in the data analysis to effectively search for and retrieve data based on specific condition. And next we have the if and the ifs function. So these are performed conditional checks to determine eligibility for bonus or promotional based on performance rating. So if you use ifs, it will handle multiple conditions. And next we have COUNTIF and COUNTIFs. So this counts the number of cells that meet a single condition and multiple condition, such as counting the number of employees in a specific department. And last, we have the data diff. This calculates the difference between two dates useful for determining the employee tenure.
Thanks for explaining the functions, Rohit. I'll now show two examples using these functions to illustrate how they can be applied to HR tasks. First up, we'll start with the famous VLOOKUP function. It is like a go-to tool for searching through tables, and it simply looks for a value in the first column of your data table and it gives you back a corresponding value from another column in the same row. So you can see the syntax on the screen. The lookup value is what you're searching for. The data table is the range where you're searching. column index is the column number from which you want to retrieve the data, starting with 1 for the leftmost column. So if you want data from the third column, you'd use 3. And mode tells the VLOOKUP how to look for your value. -1 if your first column is sorted in descending order until you find the exact match or the next greatest value. 0 if your first column is unsorted and it will look for an exact match or use regex matching. 1 and greater than 2 if the first column is sorted in ascending order and it will find the exact match or the next smallest value. 2 if your first column is unsorted and it will only find an exact match. So here's a quick example. So you're looking to find the name of the employee with the ID 2508. So you have the columns employee ID, date of birth, name, and the date of joining. So the relevant fields here are the employee ID and the name. So you type in the VLOOKUP function right next to the cell and you select your employee ID of your preference. Here it would be 2508 because you're looking to find the value 2508 within the range A2 to D7, and you're looking to match the values from the C column. And it's that simple. You get the values from the C column, which is bring in the employee name of the employee ID 2508. And next up, let's talk about network days. So this function helps you to figure out the number of working days between 2 dates, including weekends and holidays. You can find the syntax on the screen. The starting date is the beginning date, end date is the end date. It's that simple. Holiday range is the holiday range. So it's direct and to the point. So here's a quick example. So as you can see in the screen, so you have the holidays listed on the left side, and you're looking to calculate the number of days, excluding the holidays and including the holidays. So it's straight to point. All you have to do is just enter the formula, followed by the starting date and the ending date, and you'll have to include the holiday range in between, which you can select from on the left pane. It's again direct and straight to the point. And you can repeat the same set of steps. And if you want to include the holidays, you can do that as well from the second cell. I hope that was clear.
Thank you for the detailed overview, Balaji. Now let's move on to another important use case, data analysis. Think of a data analyst who are evaluating sales performance, customer behavior, and marketing trends. So their task often involves performing weighted analysis, filtering data under a specific condition, retrieving detailed insights, and even using database style queries. Balaji, what are the key functions in Zoshi that will be very helpful for the data analyst team in this scenario?
Good question, Rohit. Data analysts can leverage powerful functions in Zoho Sheets such as sum product, idea for performing weighted analysis such as comparing sales figures with marketing spend. You also have array formula. It is a complete time saver. It lets you apply a formula across an entire data range, making it super efficient for large data sets. You also have the filter function, perfect for extracting only the data that meets specific criteria, so you can zoom in on exactly what's relevant. You also have the index and match functions. So these are advanced search tools that allow you to retrieve data based on specific conditions, much more flexible than a simple VLOOKUP. You have the query function. Think of this as your go-to database style queries right inside Zoho Sheet, perfect for complex data retrievals. You also have the correl function, and it helps you calculate the correlation between two sets of data, like comparing sales number with marketing efforts to see how they align. And it's over to Rohit for an example on how to use some of these functions.
Thanks for the breakdown, Balaji. Now let's take a look at the correl function. So like you explained, this will calculate the correlation coefficient between two set of given data. Let's say when comparing the sales and the marketing efforts. So here is the syntax, which is very simple. Correl, then the x value and the y value. So x value is set of range in your sheet and y value will be set of range in your sheet. Let's see a quick example. So I have a first data set with 5 rows of value and I have a second data set with the 5 rows of value. Now I'm going to apply the correl function between these two data sets and I'm going to find the correlation coefficient. So enter the function name, select the range of data set, and as you see, I have the correlation coefficient for between these sets. Now let's move on to the next function, that is index, which will retrieve a value from a table based on a row or column number that we specify within the function. So here is the syntax. the data table, that is the range of table in your sheet. Then we have to specify the row number, the column number, and area number. If it's more than one range, this specifies which range to use. For a case, if you have multiple tables in your sheet, you have to specify the range of data that needs to be used for the calculation. Let's see a quick example of how it works. So in the sheet, I have a table that contains the product name, the number of units sold, and the price per unit, and last, the total sales of each product. Now I'm going to use the index function to retrieve a specific product name from the table. Enter the function name, and first we have to select the range of data, which is A1 to D8. Then I'll specify the row number. So let's say I'm going to retrieve the coffee table from my data. I'll specify the row number 4. Then I have to specify the column number 1. That's it. You can see the coffee table got retrieved. Now let's try retrieving another value. This time we'll go for meeting tables from the product. Select the range of data, specify the row number and the column number, which will be 6, and the column 1, and the meeting tables got retrieved. So not only you can use index function for simple retrieval, you can even do advanced calculation within the function itself. As you see here, based on a certain condition, I'm going to predict the price per unit for a certain product. So that's very simple, that easy. So Balaji, now that we have covered the data analysis, shall we move on to the next use case what we have?
Sure thing, Rohit. Let's discuss inventory management now, especially for retail companies. They need to track stock levels, forecast reorder needs, analyze sales performance, and dynamically organize inventory data. The goal here is to ensure that products are always in stock by setting up automated restocking alerts. What functions in Zoho Sheet would be most useful for supply chain and inventory management? Do you have any suggestions, Rohit?
Yes, I do, Balaji. So for retail and supply chain professionals, these functions are absolutely game changer. So to start with, we have the stock history. So this tracks the historical stock price or the supply cost trends, helping with long-term planning and cost analysis. And next we have the reorder level function. So you can set up an automated restocking alert when an inventory drops below a certain level, so you never run out of stocks. And next we have the sort. You use to dynamically sort your inventory data based on stock levels, sales figure, or any other criteria, helping you to keep everything organized. And next we have the index and match function that we have already covered, and also the sum ifs and count ifs we already saw in the above scenarios. So Balaji, I think you have a live example to show right to us.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for outlining those functions. Let's jump into a live example and see how these functions work. Starting with the stock function, which is particularly useful for tracking stock market data directly in Zoho Sheet. So we have values like symbol and stock. The symbol is a stock ticker, for example, AAPL for Apple. And the function is optional, but it defines the specific data that you want to retrieve. If omitted, it defaults to the stock price. So some of the supported functions are price, which gets the current price of the stock, trade time, that gives the last traded time, and you also have options like open, high, low, volume, 52-week high, 52-week low, etc. Here's a quick example. So you're looking to fetch the stock price for Reliance. All you have to do is just type in the formula for stock, and you have to give in the symbol for Reliance, and under functions you'll have to use price, and repeat the same process for Apple as well. So type in the formula for stock, the symbol AAPL followed by the function that you want, and here it's price, and you get the stock price for Apple. It's that simple. Moving on to the sum ifs function. It is incredibly useful if you want to sum the data based on multiple criteria. So you have the syntax right on your screen, and let me explain the values that I've given in. The sum range is a range containing the values that you want to add. For example, the column range B2 to B8, and the test range is a range that you want to test for the given criteria. And the condition is a number, an expression, a text string, or even a logical operator. This allows you to sum data that matches multiple conditions, which is really helpful for advanced data analysis. Here is a quick example where we're looking to calculate the total sales of flower base with a unit price of $115. Even the total units of portable wardrobe sold is calculated using the summaries function. And you can look at the syntax right here. Next up, we are trying to calculate the total sales of flower base with the unit price of 115, and you can see me typing in the formula on the screen. So it's just SUMIF followed by the syntax that we discussed in the previous slide. So as it needs to calculate the total sales, we're selecting the range D2 to D8, and so it has to match the price point of $115. So we're just typing in 115. Now we'll have to notice we need the value for flower base. So we're selecting the range A2 to A8, and we'll have to type in flower base. That's it. You can see the value right on your screen.
Thanks for the breakdown, Balaji. Those are some really powerful functions. But as we all know, sometimes possible errors happens, and it's important to understand what they mean to troubleshoot quickly. So let me share a few common ones you might come across while using all the functions that we discussed today. So first we have hashtag NA error. So this occurs when a function like the VLOOKUP can't find the value it's searching for in the table that we specified. And next we have the hashtag name error. So this happens if the function name is incorrect, if there is a typo, or if a double quotes are missing for the text values, and also a colon might be missing in the cell reference. And next we have the hashtag value error. You will see this error when the data type of an argument is incorrect, like trying to use a text in a range where a number is expected. And last, we have the reference error. So this error pops up when the cell reference is invalid, perhaps due to deleted or moved or overwritten range.
Thanks for explaining that, Rohit. And to wrap up, we have covered essential functions used across various industries for managing data in Zoho Sheet. We also discussed common errors you might encounter while using these functions. And as a reminder, this is a two-part series, and in our next session, we'll explore some of the advanced functions in Zoho Sheet. Thank you all for joining today's webinar on the powerful inbuilt functions in Zoho Sheet that can take your calculations and analysis from basic numbers to deep insights. We hope you found this session informative, and now that you're equipped with the knowledge to effectively handling your functions in Zoho Sheet. But remember, if you need any further assistance, you can reach out to us through our multiple channels. Our phone lines are open 24/5 for support, and you can find the contact numbers on our website and on the screen right here. And if you prefer email, you can always reach out to us via our support email address for any queries or any assistance that you need.
So adding to that, we also offer a live chat option available 24/7. Just visit zoho.com/work drive and click on the chat icon on the bottom right corner and get connected with our support team instantly to clarify any queries what you have with Zoho Sheet. And also, please note that this is a two-part series webinar. So in today's session, we covered the essential functions that the various companies use for the data management. And in our next session, we will dive into the advanced functions to help you handle more calculations in Zoho Sheet. And don't forget, we host webinars on different topics every third Thursday of the month. So be sure to stay tuned for more insights. And thank you again for attending. We appreciate your time and hope you to see you in our future webinars. Have a great day.
Goodbye, everyone, and happy data managing with Zoho Sheet.